Welcome back to Books with Blake. I'm Blake, and today we're going to review Morning Star by Pierce Brown. To find out what I loved about this book, stick around. All right, first of all, straight off the bat, this has been my favorite book of the series so far. Probably the favorite book I've read this year, bar none. It was such a good book to me, and it was so incredible how Pierce Brown was able to draw on your emotion from beginning to end. Just so you know, this is a book review that's going to be full of spoilers. So if you don't want spoilers for this book, maybe check out another one of my videos here or here. So we start off and Darrow is locked in a box. So immediately Pierce Brown pulls you into the darkness, and he pulls on that human condition and fear of loneliness and fear of being alone and fear of the dark, and like locks us in the box with Darrow, right? He puts us in the box for like the first chapter. That's what he talks about pretty much the entire time, is how terrible it is inside there. That right there set the tone for the book for me and kind of let me know, okay, this is going to be a roller coaster because we're starting off in a bad spot immediately, which we knew from the end of Golden Sun that the beginning of Morning Star was going to be interesting, to say the least. But yeah, the way he started off the book just kind of grabbed me from the start and never let me go. One of the things that Pierce does very good is pull on people's heartstrings and pull on their emotions, and he makes you fall in love with characters and also hate characters. There's extreme loathing for some of the characters. And then for the other characters, like for example, Severo, for me, Ragnar, these are characters that I just absolutely adore and love. And he even does stuff with those characters that like pulls on your emotions, makes you angry or sad, right? So to me, there was a lot of moments in this book, and one of the things that makes a book great is the moments that you remember, the moments that bring you back to the book. And for me, there was several of those moments throughout the book, all scattered throughout, high points, low points. Another thing that he does that really just cracks me up, but also like shows me how smart of a writer he is that when you think all is lost and there's no hope, he has the best way of just cracking a joke. And it's like, it could be the most crude, most crass joke you've ever heard. But the fact of the matter is, he pushes you off balance with it, right? So he brings in that joke just to push you off balance, like, hey, it's going to be okay. Or, hey, don't get too comfortable because shit's about to go south. But yeah, both of those are times when he will put in those crass or crude jokes by Severo or one of the other howlers that just makes you go, dude, okay. So it just knocks you off balance just enough to keep you on your toes, which I think he does an incredible balancing act of keeping you engaged while also letting you drift into being comfortable occasionally. So this is my first real like book review on YouTube. So what I want to do is go through some of the quotes that really stuck with me. And I'll throw those up on the screen, as well as I'll just speak them out. So one of the first ones that got me was on page 4. He says, "Man is no island. We need those who love us. We need those who hate us. We need others to tether us to life, to give us a reason to live and to feel." Man, right? That's goes back to what I said about the loneliness and pulling us into the darkness. A little while later, this is page 60. This is after they have come to the city and they're looking around, and he says, "How many mothers have prayed to see their sons, their daughters return from war, only to realize that the war has kept them. The world has poisoned them, and they'll never be the same." So if you know anyone who is a soldier or you have family who's been to war, you will know what this is talking about, right? Those people are never the same. They're sometimes better, sometimes they're broken, but they change, right? And that's the point he's trying to make here, is that people change during war. There's nothing you can do about it. So after we talk about that, we talk about how serious that thought is. this is again one of those spots where he throws in a little bit of humor. Just a few pages later, the Severo is telling a story about Ragnar, and how Ragnar was stuck inside of a demon, a sea demon. He says, so I follow and I'm chasing it, shooting my pulse fist at a bloody damn sea demon as it sinks to the bottom of the thermic sea. Pressure is building, my suit is wheezing, and I think I'm about to die when suddenly Ragnar cuts his way out of the scaly bitch. But guess where he came out? Come on, guess. Severo, did he come out the sea demon's arse? No, he says rectum. Severo, did he come out the sea demon's rectum? He did, right out the ass, shot like a turd. And that, like, again, is one of those pages that just had me cracking up so much, as childish as it might be. But, like, again, it's that balancing act that Brown is able to do between the serious and the funny, the light and the dark, right? It's really, really, really good. So next in the saved quotes that I have is the speech from page 180 to 183. I'm not going to read it all. It's huge. But I will say that the way that he is able to write that speech, that prose, to really captivate and uplift the audience of the Reds that are there, it was really, really something, and it had me like jazzed up. I don't know if you guys have seen Braveheart. I hope you've seen Braveheart. It's my favorite movie. I watched it today because it's my birthday. But in Braveheart, there's one of the greatest speeches of all time, like rousing speeches before a big battle. And this might be better than that one. Way later on in the book, page 335, we hear this little saying about pride and truth. And it says, what is pride without honor? What is honor without truth? Honor is not what you say. It is not what you read. Honor is what you do. And to me, that is... yeah, that's so true. This was one of the tipping points for when they were fighting over allegiance of the Moon Lords. And it's just, that's so true. Like, honor is nothing without truth. And pride is very dangerous if you don't have honor. So backing up a little bit, some of the other things is the imagery that he's able to paint with his words in this book and what they mean to me. So like back on page 26, he said when Darrow got his new razor, so he's got this blade, right? And it's got a scene etched into it of his childhood, right? His family, his mother, his father, his wife, right? And that's what's on the blade. Shortly after introducing that, he uses that blade to slash the throat of Vixis, right? And when he does that, the blood trickles over the inscription, the etched in images, right? So to me, that was like a big contrast of emotion from the beauty of the image and what that represented to what the blade is actually used for. And I think he did a really good job of like calling that out within just a few pages to where you're like, okay, he's got this awesome blade, and now he's, he looks at it in awe and beauty, but then, a few pages later, it's used to do something so terrible. And, it just really kind of drives that home. Oh, the re-entry of Mustang into the story. So when Mustang re-entered the story, it really created a huge amount of tension between Severo and Darrow. So there was already tension here because Severo was leading when that's Darrow's job. Darrow was so used to being the leader, and now he's having to take second fiddle to Severo, and he's not used to that. And you can tell, but then when Mustang shows up and they're basically, Severo's trying to kill Mustang, and Darrow's like, no, we're not killing her. I'm not having it. And was like really one of the big tipping points between Darrow and Severo. This is, again, Brown is using Darrow's love. Like, Darrow's a deep, deep lover, and we've seen that since the very beginning, right? He loves people very hard, and he'll do anything for those people, and that's very clear. And you kind of see that, and he's using that again here to build tension, right? To build up the story, to see, okay, what's going to happen when Mustang betrays him or Severo tries to kill Mustang. It's really cool. This is when the mask that Mustang is wearing breaks off and you actually get to see her. And right when she's about to deal the killing stroke on Darrow. She recognizes who it is, and she stops her blade, and it's like the tension at that point was just like, oh my gosh, what is happening right now? Chapter 22 of the book, right? This is the chapter where Severo and Darrow get into the fist fight. I love this chapter so much. It resonates with me a lot because I had an older brother growing up, and we used to get in these fights. Like we would get in the point where we just wanted to punch each other and fight and fight and fight. And then at the end of it, we're really good friends, right? So you kind of see that in this chapter where Severo and Darrow get in this big fight. The tension's been building and building and building, and finally they can't take it anymore. Darrow accidentally fires his gun. It almost hits Severo, and that's what causes this absolute chaos eruption between Darrow and Severo, throwing punches, kicks back and forth at each other. At the end of it, you see he talks about how Severo's sitting there just biting his thumb, like he doesn't know what to say, and he feels ashamed, that he got in that fight. He feels ashamed, I think, that he was trying to take leadership from Darrow. He feels ashamed in his pride that got him to where he is leading the Howlers, but also he is, good. He's doing too much, right? He's a leader, but he's not a role model, if that makes sense. That to me was a big point in the story, and I just love that. Oh man. The next thing in the book that really bothered me, or really, really stuck with me, this moment that I talked about earlier, is when Ragnar dies. So Ragnar's death was very quick, and it wasn't very in depth, but it was a very beautiful scene. It was so crazy for me to see the transformation of Ragnar from when he was a cold and silent killing machine. Like that's all he did. He was just a murderer, right? He went from that to being loving, kind-hearted, curious, and kind of like a beacon of peace and change for the universe, right? So I don't know if you recall the one scene where they're getting on the train, and he asks, "Why don't you care for these people?" And it was the Reds that were using drugs, and I forget exactly what they said, but it was something along the lines of, they can't be helped anymore. They're outside of help. But you just see that from Ragnar, who 2 books ago would have never asked. He hardly ever even said anything, right? He was just really cold and silent and deadly. And now he's asking, like, hey, there's this homeless person on the ground. Why aren't you doing something to help them? But yeah, when he was ripped away from us, it was an honorable death, but man, it was so hard for me. I really loved Ragnar as a character since the beginning, when we first met him, and I was really sad to see him go. That was one of the points of the book I actually got kind of choked up a little bit, because I didn't want to see him die. I wanted to see him stick around, but there's a reason for everything. I don't know what's coming next, so we'll have to see. Okay, the next thing that really stuck out to me, or the one thing that I wanted to highlight, was I didn't realize this until the end of the book, right? I had to go back, and I used my little tabs to go back and be like, okay, what happened? Because there was a spot at the end of the book where Darrow walks in on Mustang and his mom talking. And when he walks in, they abruptly stop, like they're trying to hide something from him. And then I was like, what are they hiding, right? And then we get to the end of the book, we find out that Darrow is a dad and that Mustang has had a baby. And I was just like, wow. It was such a small thread that carried from one part of the book all the way to the end, but it stuck in my mind enough to where I went back and said, hold on, I want to go back and reread that and see, did that say what I think it said, or did that happen how I thought it happened? And that was just really cool. And the fact that we have now baby Pax, I'm so excited to meet baby Pax. I can't wait to see what happens. I'm sure that's what's going to be happening in Iron Gold. I feel like Darrow's going to take a step back. Pax is going to take the front. I don't know, because I haven't read the synopsis or anything. So we'll just have to see what happens, and you can join me and see what happens along with me. But yeah, so I gave this book 5 stars. This is something I don't do very often, but normally I'm like a 3-star, 4-star guy, but to me, this book just had so many incredible moments, and there were so many characters who, came into being in this book or left in this book, and I was like just crushed. I didn't talk about her much, but Ragnar's sister, it's Sephi. So Sephi is Ragnar's sister, and I marked it in my. It's the only mark on my book that's really abnormal color, because I knew that was going to be a big moment, right? Um, and of course it was. I mean, Sephi she's a force to be reckoned with, and I think that we'll see more of her possibly. Look forward to seeing what happens in the next book. Like I said, next up is Iron Gold. I plan on picking that up probably next week, and I'll probably not start it for a while just because I have so many other books going on, but it's going to have to happen soon because I really love this series. So yeah, if you enjoyed that review, again, it's a lot of just spoilers, me talking about the way I feel about the book and the way it grabbed a hold of my heartstrings. But yeah, if that's something you're into, man, that's what I want to do on this channel. I want to sit here and talk about books with you, and I want you to feel free to comment and talk about books with me. Send me an email. My email should be below. It's mailbookswithblake@gmail.com. I will answer every email that gets sent to me. I really am just looking for people to chat with about this stuff. So yeah, thanks for joining me and journey through the pages with me.